Welcome to the 61V Michigan CTE Expansion Grant pre-recorded webinar. Our goal during this session is to walk you through the grant opportunity, explain eligibility, and provide guidance on how to apply successfully. By the end of this webinar, you'll understand the purpose of the grant, allowable expenses, application requirements, and key dates. We encourage you to jot down your questions and submit them via the 61V CTE Grant Application Question Form, available on the 61V Grant webpage from May 21st to May 28th, 2026. All questions will be answered in writing and posted on the 61V Grant webpage. No individual answers or district-specific answers can be provided due to the competitive nature of the grant. Agenda. This presentation walks through the full 61V Michigan CTE grant process from introduction to final submission and implementation. It begins with an overview of the grant and its purpose, then outlines the key application requirements districts must meet. The presentation also reviews the components of the Nexus application, including what information districts will need to gather and enter, expectations for both high school and middle school program options are explained, as each has distinct design and compliance considerations. Additional sections provide guidance on budgeting, including required local contributions, and explain how applications are scored under the tiered rating system. This presentation concludes with details on reporting, monitoring, and implementation expectations, along with key dates and available support resources. Introduction to 61V CTE Expansion Grant. The 61V Michigan CTE Expansion Grant is designed to increase student access to high-quality career and technical education programs across the state. This initiative supports districts in expanding opportunities where access is currently limited or where specific student groups are significantly underrepresented. The intent is to remove barriers and ensure that more students can engage in meaningful, career-aligned learning pathways, leading to credentials, careers, and post-secondary success. Introduction to 61V CTE Expansion Grant. The goal of this grant is straightforward: to ensure that more students have access to high-quality career and technical education programs. Currently, there are areas in Michigan, what we refer to as CTE deserts, where students have limited options for CTE programs. We're also focused on closing the opportunity gaps for underrepresented student groups in CTE. This means ensuring that every student, regardless of their location or background, has a fair opportunity to explore and succeed in these career pathways. So who is eligible to apply? To be eligible for this grant, districts must demonstrate that they either fall into what we refer to as a CTE desert, meaning there are very few state-approved CTE programs available, or that they have an opportunity gap for certain student groups. This involves examining your district's data, including the number of programs and clusters currently offered, as well as whether specific groups such as those defined by race, gender, or Perkins 5 special populations are underrepresented in CTE enrollment. We've provided tools to help with this, including a CETUS help document and a gap calculation form. Districts may also use their local Michigan Student Data System, or MSDS. These resources will guide you and your district in demonstrating eligibility and preparing your application. CTE desert. On this slide, we're introducing the concept of a CTE desert. A CTE desert is a geographic area where students have very limited access to state-approved career and technical education programs or career clusters. In other words, students in these districts simply don't have the same opportunities to explore CTE pathways as students elsewhere. The scoring rubric reflects this need. Districts with a larger number of programs, 9 or more, receive 0 points because they already offer broad access. Districts with only 2 or fewer programs receive the maximum 10 points, signaling a much higher level of need. A similar structure applies to career clusters. Districts with 14 or more career clusters receive 0 points, while those with 5 or fewer clusters receive the full 10 points. The overall intent is to ensure that resources are directed towards communities where program availability is most limited and where new CTE options can have the greatest impact. The opportunity gap. An opportunity gap exists when student populations have significantly less access to CTE programs than others. This includes disparities affecting both larger student groups and smaller groups that may represent a small share of the overall population. For larger student groups, those making up 20% or more of the district's population, 0 points are awarded when no groups are underrepresented. When 3 or more of these groups are underrepresented by more than 10%, districts receive the maximum 6 points. For smaller student groups, those representing less than 20% of the population, the rubric looks at deeper underrepresentation. 0 points are awarded when 0 or 1 group is underrepresented by more than 50%. More than 5 such groups underrepresented at this level results in the full 4 points. This priority structure ensures that districts with substantial inequities in CTE participation are elevated in the scoring process, allowing resources to reach students who have historically been underserved. 61B CTE expansion grant structure. This funding is available through Section 61B of the State School Aid Act. The first year of funding is designed to help you get started and cover the initial costs of launching a program. After that, the funding gradually decreases in years 2 and 3, so districts will need to plan for sustainability by increasing local support. For example, if the district receives the full $400,000 for a new CTE program, you may plan to spend the 61B funds as follows: $200,000 in year 1, $120,000 in year 2, and $80,000 in year 3. The idea is to help districts build a strong foundation and then transition into long-term success. Required components. Beyond eligibility, there are several key requirements that every application must meet. First, each application requires a clear statement of commitment. This demonstrates your district's capacity to launch and sustain the program in the long term. Next, all applications must outline a strategy for meeting student needs and ensure the district's plan is both equitable and accessible. Applications also need a well-aligned budget that supports district goals. Finally, the application must demonstrate how the program will continue after the grant funding ends. This isn't just about starting something new, it's about building programs that last. Allowable and unallowable expenses. Let's talk about the specifics of what grant funds can and can't be used for. The good news is that there's flexibility for things that directly support CTE programs, such as developing programs of study, purchasing equipment and supplies, paying teachers' salaries and benefits, acquiring curriculum materials, and providing a professional development. However, there are some clear restrictions. Funds cannot be used for administrative costs, major capital projects such as building construction, or any expenses below the 6th grade level. For a comprehensive list of allowable and unallowable expenses, please refer to the Allowable Use of Funds resource available on the 61V grant webpage. Application requirements. The next section outlines the essential requirements every applicant must meet to be considered for funding. These foundational elements ensure consistency across submissions and help districts understand what must be included for a complete application. How to apply for the grant. After reviewing all the requirements and confirming that your district is eligible for the 61B Michigan CTE expansion grant, the next step is to complete the application process for each new program you plan to submit. First, applicants need to complete all 5 required documents listed on the next slide. These documents are essential components of every application and need to be prepared separately for each proposed program. Once all documents are finalized, the full application packet needs to be submitted through the Nexus grant application system. Please remember that a district's Level 5 administrator needs to initiate and submit each application in Nexus to ensure it is properly authorized. Following these steps will ensure that your application is complete and ready for review. Required documents. As part of the application process, several key documents need to be uploaded to Nexus. These include the completed gap calculation form for the applying district, the Microsoft Forms application, also known as the 61V Michigan CTE Expansion Grant Pre-Application Form, the program assurances or new CTE program application assurances. a support form from the Career Education Planning District, or CPED, and a statement of commitment from the district superintendent. Templates for all these are available on the 61B grant webpage. Please ensure you download and complete each one before submitting your application. Gap calculation form needs to be completed first. Begin by reviewing the instructions on the Direction tabs. Then complete the applicant information on the Cover Page tab. After that, move to the Gap Calculations tab, where you will enter the required data. The total number of students in grades 9 through 12 in the applying district based on the 2025-2026 fall count. Then you'll add in student counts for each of the 16 specified categories. Next, you'll enter the total number of students enrolled in CTE, and then the CTE student counts for those same 16 categories. These entries will produce the opportunity gap calculations needed to identify and select the appropriate student gaps in the Microsoft Forms application. Gap calculation form screenshot. Here's a screenshot of the Gap Calculations tab. The applying district will enter the number of 9th through 12th grade students in cell C2 and all group membership numbers in cells C4 through C19. Then the district will enter the corresponding numbers for students currently enrolled in CTE in cell H2 and all group membership numbers for CTE students in cells H4 to H19. This will help the district compare all students in each student group to the number of CTE students in each group. The bottom table on the sheet will automatically calculate based on the two different thresholds. We will look at the bottom of the sheet on the next slide. Gap calculation form important information. The calculator determines the opportunity gap using two different thresholds. If the population is 20% or more, the calculator uses a 10% threshold to identify underrepresentation. If the student's group population is less than 20%, the calculator uses half that representation at the threshold. Cells automatically appear in red if there is an underrepresentation to count, based on the information you entered on the top of the sheet. As an example on this slide, you will note that females are underrepresented by 25%, using the 20% of the population threshold. Applying districts will record the groups that are underrepresented based on the 20% population threshold in one question on the Microsoft Forms application, and those groups that are underrepresented based on the half of the population threshold in another question on the form. Each is weighed individually on the rubric, as is the number of zip codes and clusters. As a reminder, the student groups in red on your gap calculation form need to match those selected on the Microsoft Forms application. Microsoft Forms application. Begin by reading the directions at the top of the form, and remember that districts need to submit one Microsoft Forms application for each program. For example, if a district plans to apply for 3 new programs, it needs to submit 3 Microsoft Forms applications. The Microsoft Forms application collects essential information to determine eligibility and prepare for the official 61B CTE expansion grant application in Nexus. When filling out the form, there are 2 main eligibility pieces districts will need to address. First is what we call desert eligibility. This means you provide the number of CTE programs and clusters currently available in your district. The second piece is the opportunity gap eligibility, which looks at whether certain student groups are underrepresented in CTE in your district. To figure that out, you'll use your local MSDS data along with the gap calculation form that we just discussed. These details support identifying areas with the greatest needs and allocating funding where it can have the greatest impact. CETA's guide, the number of SIPs and clusters. The Program Counts by Operating Agency report is a helpful resource for understanding the scope of CTE programs in your area. This report provides a number of classification of instructional programs, or SIP codes, and career clusters for each operating agency. You can access this information through the Michigan Career and Technical Education Information System, or CETIS. Please note that you'll need a Career Education Planning District, or CPED, number to run this report. These numbers are shown in the image on the right for your reference. To make this process easier, we've provided an online document titled How to Access Program Counts by SIP or Cluster. This guide walks you through the steps to locate and use the report effectively. Additional Microsoft Forms application components. Beyond eligibility, the Microsoft Forms application digs deeper into the district program plans. The district will describe the program design, how it's structured, and what makes it effective. You'll also outline strategies to ensure that access and equity so all students have opportunities to participate. Another key piece is the district's commitment. How feasible the plan is, how will it be sustained over time, and whether it can be scaled. Finally, each Microsoft Forms application needs to include an evaluation plan to measure success. Microsoft Forms application important information. So here are a few important things to note. This is a Microsoft form. The actual application is in Nexus. This form needs to be uploaded to the Nexus application. Remember, only one SIP or one middle school program can be included in a single Microsoft Forms application. Once the form is completed, please follow the instructions at the top of the page to save it as a PDF and upload that PDF to Nexus. The PDF may not display all the text you've entered, but all information is still captured within the form. Please remember to save Microsoft Forms application as a PDF before selecting Submit. This step is important. A few additional reminders. Do not reformat the form. Do not attach separate documents to provide answers to the narrative questions. There is a character limit of 4,000 characters within the form, so responses need to fit within the provided fields. Program assurances. One of the key pieces of the application is the program assurances document. This is where districts confirm that proposed programs meets all the necessary requirements. That includes alignment with Perkins 5 standards, having a properly certified teacher, and establishing a program advisory committee. The district will also need to show how the program connects secondary and post-secondary education through sequencing, credentials, and credit agreements. Equity and access are critical, and if you're planning middle school components, those need to be addressed as well. Essentially, this document demonstrates that the program is well designed and ready to deliver quality CTE opportunities. Please make sure every field is completed, the form is signed by the district's CTE leader, and all required checkboxes are selected. Superintendent Statement of Commitment. The Superintendent's Statement of Commitment confirms that the district's leadership is committed to sustaining the CTE program beyond the grant period and has the capacity, plan, and budget alignment to do so. Specifically, this form demonstrates the superintendent's commitment to sustaining high-quality CTE programs, acknowledges that the district has the capacity and a clear sustainability plan, that the strategy outlined in the application aligns with student needs and is supported by an appropriate budget. And finally, that the district will continue the CTE program after 61B grant funding ends. Please make sure every field is completed and that the form is signed by the district superintendent. CPED support form. Part of this application process involves getting formal support from district leadership. Both the CPED and the district superintendent need to complete the assurance forms indicating whether they fully support, partially support, or do not support the application. Additionally, the CPED needs to confirm that a comprehensive local needs assessment is on file and that the proposed program aligns with the assessment. These steps ensure that the program aligns with the district's broader career education strategy and has the necessary support for success. The Nexus application components. This section walks through the components of the application within Nexus. Each part of the system collects key information needed to evaluate eligibility, program quality, and alignment with grant expectations. Nexus application components. Next, we'll move on to Nexus. When you log into Nexus, submit the application, you'll notice a few key sections. You'll begin with the basic district information, then proceed to assurances and other important details. After that, select the programs that the district is applying to, whether they're middle school or high school, and complete the budget section. Be sure to upload all the required documents. Each part is designed to make sure the application is complete and aligned with the grant requirements. Please double check that the correct district code and district name are entered into Nexus. Program selection format in Nexus. When selecting high school programs for the application, you will need to use the official zip code. These codes follow a specific format, 2 digits, a decimal point, and then 4 more digits, such as 51.0000. Only programs listed in the zip codes for high school document are eligible for this grant, so make sure you reference that list. You can find the complete set of allowable SIPs on the 61B grant webpage. If the district is selecting a middle school program for the application, you'll need to use the middle school career codes. These codes follow a specific format as well. The letter M followed by 2 digits. These are new codes, and can be found on the Middle School Clusters Code resource on the 61B grant webpage. Nexus 61B required documents. We want to highlight 2 critical reminders for completing the Nexus portion of the application. First, it is essential that each application include a valid high school zip code or middle school program code. Please remember that Nexus will not accept narrative program descriptions in place of these codes. So be sure you've selected the correct SIP or MS code from the approved list before entering it into the system. Second, and extremely important, every application needs to include all 5 required documents. These need to be uploaded to Nexus for each individual application you submit. If you're submitting more than one program, you'll repeat the process and upload a complete set of required documents for each one. Ensuring the correct codes and all documents are included will prevent delays and allow the review team to evaluate your application accurately. Nexus budget. Per legislation, your budget needs to show a combination of 61V grant funds and local non-61V funds for each year of your 3-year plan. This means applicants need to clearly demonstrate local financial participation, not just in years 2 and 3, but starting in year 1 of the project. Please select the source of funds for each budget item, either 61V funds or non-61V funds. The legislation also requires a tiered funding structure where 61V dollars decrease over 3 years while local funds gradually increase. This ensures that programs are positioned for sustainability beyond the grant period. Finally, please remember that the total 61V request for each submitted application cannot exceed $400,000. That $400,000 cap applies to a single program application. Making sure the budget aligns with these legislative rules, tiered funding, local match, and the cap is essential for a complete and compliant submission. High school and middle school programs. The following section provides an overview of program requirements for both high school and middle school options. While both are eligible under this grant, each has a unique design expectations and compliance considerations. For high school CTE programs, if the district plans to use grant funds for high school CTE programs, the district must ensure that the program is aligned with state career and technical education standards and integrates stackable credentials. The district must also create a program of study guided by a program advisory committee and maintain all requirements of a state-approved program, including an appropriately certified teacher with a credential aligned to the zip code of the program. More information about the CTE high school program requirements can be found in the new CTE program toolkit on the website. Awardees will be also invited to technical assistance sessions to assist district personnel in learning more about and completing these requirements. For middle school CTE programs, if the district plans to use grant funds for middle school CTE programs, several key requirements need to be met. These elements are part of the middle school assurance document that needs to be signed. First, the program needs to align academic content with practical career skills. Students should see how what they learn connects to real-world opportunities. The program also needs to integrate flexibility of the Michigan Merit Curriculum into a program of study that spans from middle school through post-secondary education. That path should enable students to earn both high school academic and CTE credits, allowing them to transition smoothly into high school programs. Finally, the program needs to use tools such as the Education Development Plan and the Michigan Career Development Model to provide robust career and college readiness activities for middle school students. Middle school program selections. For middle school program selections, a new coding system based on career clusters has been introduced. These clusters represent broad areas of interest and encompass fields such as advanced manufacturing, agriculture, arts and design, construction, digital technology, education, energy and natural resources, financial services, healthcare, hospitality and tourism, management and entrepreneurship, marketing and sales, public safety, and supply chain and transportation. When planning middle school programs, consider which clusters align most closely with the district's needs and local workforce opportunities. Middle school program guidance. When designing a middle school program, it is important to ensure that all required components are included. This includes aligning the curriculum to the competencies and standards, establishing a business advisory committee, and following the instructional design expectations for middle school CTE. You'll also see that there is specific guidance related to teacher credentials for middle school programs. These credential requirements help ensure that instructors are properly prepared to deliver high quality, career aligned instruction at the middle school level. Finally, we want to highlight the minimum program length. Middle school CT programs need to include at least 135 hours of instruction, which is a key requirement as you plan your program structure and scheduling. Additional resources such as the component of a middle school program, credentialing guidance, program of study materials, and instructional design materials are available on the 61B grant website and the new CTE middle school webpage, and will support you as you develop or expand middle school offerings. Budget guidance. The next section focus is on budget guidance. These details support accurate and compliant budgeting for all 3 years of implementation and help applicants understand what funding must include and how it must be structured. As you complete the budget section, there are a few key points to keep in mind. First, make sure all required budget fields are completed in Nexus. The budget should clearly align with the district's project goals and only include allowable expenses such as equipment, staffing, and supplies. The budget must also include non-61V funds or local funds in the budget detail for each year. Avoid unallowable costs such as administrative overhead. Use the budget detail line item description section to justify each expense. And don't forget to reference the function code guidance at the 61V grant webpage in the use of funds guide for examples. Following these steps will help ensure the budget is accurate and compliant. Budget guidance by year. Overall budget planning should reflect a tiered approach to both funding and implementation to assure long-term success. For year one, all funds need to be spent by September 30th, 2027, and applicants must include local support from the start, not just in the later years. In year two, 61V funding needs to be scaled down while local support increases. Year two funds need to be spent by September 30th, 2028, and you may need to submit a budget amendment if there are implementation changes or updates. By year three, 61V funding is scaled down even further. Local sustainability is especially important here, and all year three funds need to be spent by September 30, 2029. Again, amendments may be required based on MDE guidance. Scoring. This section explains how applications are evaluated under the tiered scoring system. Understanding the scoring structure helps applicants strengthen their submissions and clearly demonstrates need and readiness. Tiered rating system. Every application will be scored using a tiered rating system. You can find the application on the application rubric on the 61B grant webpage. Several key factors drive the tiered scores. The first consideration is the magnitude of need, which refers to the significance of the opportunity gap or whether the district is in a CTE desert. Labor market demand for the proposed programs is another significant factor, as we aim to ensure these programs lead to genuine opportunities for students. Next, the local match is reviewed, including the level of support the district is committing, whether through funding, partnerships, or other resources. This ensures that the district will be able to sustain the program after 61V funding has ended. Finally, the feasibility of the implementation and evaluation plans will be assessed to determine the realism and sustainability of the district's approach. These elements together help the department prioritize applications that will have the greatest impact. Grant criteria scoring and scoring. Points are weighted heavily towards districts in CTE deserts, followed by those with significant opportunity gaps. To be eligible, the application needs to show at least one of these factors at the second tier or higher. Beyond that, the rubric also considers other requirements, such as the district's evaluation plan and overall program design. Essentially, the scoring system ensures that funding is allocated to programs with the greatest impact and that align with the legislative priorities. Reporting, monitoring, and implementation. The upcoming section outlines requirements for reporting, monitoring, and implementation throughout the 3-year grant cycle. These expectations ensure program maintains high quality and align with state and federal guidelines. CTE reporting and monitoring. Accurate reporting and consistent monitoring are essential responsibilities for any CTE program that receives state or federal funding. Tools like the annual SIP or cluster self-review ensure that teachers and administrators continuously examine program quality, compliance, and improvement needs. By requiring CPED administrators to review 20% of their programs each year, the state guarantees that every program is evaluated at least once within a 5-year cycle, helping maintain strong data quality, adherence to standards, and ongoing progress towards student success. The track process strengthens this oversight by verifying proper and compliant use of Perkins and state school aid funds, confirming accurate data reporting for core performance indicators, and ensuring that teachers' credentials, program operations, and instructional practices align with state and federal requirements. Track also provides targeted technical assistance to help districts identify barriers, refine policies, and evaluate overall program quality. This monitoring is not just a compliance exercise. It directly supports better instruction, stronger alignment to industry standards, and expanded opportunities for students to earn industry-recognized credentials. CTE reporting and monitoring. The Comprehensive Local Needs Assessment, required every 2 years under Perkins 5, adds a deeper layer of strategic planning. Through broad stakeholder engagement, each region evaluates performance, labor, market alignment, and program size and quality, staffing, and equity. This analysis guides future spending decisions and ensures that Perkins resources are invested where they will have the greatest impact. When done well, the CLNA becomes a collaborative roadmap that strengthens the local CTE system. Finally, civil rights compliance protects the integrity and accessibility of CTE programs by ensuring equal opportunity for all students. Through monitoring, on-site reviews, and corrective action where needed, this process helps districts eliminate discriminatory barriers, promote integrated learning environments, and uphold federal and state civil rights laws. Together, these reporting and monitoring requirements form a comprehensive system that safeguards funding, improves quality, and ensures that every student can fully participate and succeed in career and technical education. Cohort 2, Year 1 implementation. Year 1 is all about building the foundation for the new program. This begins by forming a CTE Program Advisory Committee, holding the first meeting. This group will help guide program decisions. Next, develop the program of study and create the instructional design and syllabi. The district also needs to set up the program lab space with the right equipment and furnishings. The district also needs to ensure that a qualified teacher is in place. These steps will set the program up for success as the district moves into the later years of implementation. Cohort 2, Year 2 implementation. As you move into Year 2, the focus shifts to execution and compliance. This means following through on the assurances the district has made and completing all elements of the SIP or cluster self-review to ensure program quality. The district will begin operating the program while also handling administrative tasks, such as submitting a new program application to the Office of Career and Technical Education for approval and obtaining a program serial number, or PSN. The district will also be expected to report data into the CTE Information System, or CTIS, and adhere to required deadlines. If budget adjustments are needed, the district will need to submit amendments and later complete the final expenditure report. Throughout the year, maintaining strong engagement with the CTE Program Advisory Committee remains a priority to keep programs aligned with industry needs. Cohort 2, Year 3 implementation. In Year 3, the district will continue building on the foundation established in Years 1 and 2. The SIP or cluster self-review remains a key requirement as the district continues to operate the program while ensuring accurate enrollment and grade reporting in CDIS. If any budget changes arises, the district will submit amendments and later complete the final expenditure report. This year also marks a shift toward sustaining program delivery with increased local funding, which is an important step for long-term stability. Finally, district personnel will take time to evaluate Year 2 outcomes and make any necessary adjustments to strengthen implementation moving forward. Application support and key dates. The final section provides key dates and available support to assist applicants throughout the process. This includes office hours, deadlines, and where to access technical assistance resources. Office hours. MDE OCTE will be offering office hours this year. Because this is a competitive grant, we want to clarify how office hours will work. During these sessions, we will not be able to answer grant-specific questions directly, since providing individualized guidance could create an unfair advantage for some applicants. Instead, office hours will be used to point applicants to existing resources that address their questions, such as the grant webpage, posted guidance documents, and recorded materials. Our goal is to ensure everyone has equal access to the same information. Office hours will take place from 3 to 4 p.m. on June 3rd, 10th, 17th, and 24th, and the links to join will be available on the 61V grant webpage. These sessions are intended to guide applicants to the existing materials rather than provide individualized feedback. Key dates. If you have questions you would like the department to consider, an applicant question submission form will be posted on the website from May 21st through May 28th. After that window closes, we will compile all submitted questions and post the formal responses on the grant webpage by June 3rd, 2026. This ensures that every applicant receives the same information at the same time. The application is scheduled to open June 1st, 2026. Next, the grant applications are due by July 1st, 2026. So districts should plan their internal timelines accordingly to ensure that everything is completed, uploaded, and submitted in Nexus before that deadline. Award letters will be issued September 2026. Finally, annual narrative and financial expenditure reports will be due in Nexus on September 15th, 2027 and 2028. The final expenditure report is due June 30th, 2029. Please mark these dates early as they structure the full grant lifecycle from the application through the end of the funding period. Technical support resources. Here is a list of available technical support resources for this grant cycle. If districts have questions about 61V grant itself, they can email the MDE OCTE submissions inbox at the address listed on the slide. This inbox is monitored for general inquiries, but again, we won't be able to provide guidance that could give any applicant an advantage. For technical issues related to Nexus, for example, logging in, uploading documents, or system errors, applicants should use the Nexus Applications support email. That team can only help with system functionality questions. All formal resources, including required documents, guidance materials, the question submission form, and poster responses will be available on the 61V Michigan CTE Expansion Grant webpage. Applicants should rely on that webpage as their primary source of information during the application period. Thank you. As we wrap up today's session, we want to thank you for taking time to learn about the 61V Michigan Career and Technical Education Expansion Grant opportunity. We hope this pre-recorded webinar has provided clarity on the 61V Michigan CTE Expansion Grant process. Please remember to review all resources on the grant webpage. Together, we can expand access to high-quality CTE programs for every student in Michigan. Thank you, and have a great day.